Good morning, artists. Mrs. Langless here. Welcome back to another remote art project that we're going to get started on today. First off, I just want to say thank you so much for your amazing work on the three-dimensional room and the added surrealism. Those really were fantastic, the ones that I've received. If you're still working on that, please finish those up and send me a photo. I also am super impressed by the amount of participation I've seen on Seesaw. I love that you guys are checking out each other's work and liking and commenting those things, as well as being able to post your own artwork there is really great. So thank you for that. So today we are going to start on our last 1-point perspective drawing for this year. So far we've done a landscape, then we worked on an abstract artwork for our square one art, then we worked on our three-dimensional room, and now we're bringing that same concept outside, or I should say back outside, but instead of a landscape, we are going to be looking at a picture of a city, which is called a cityscape. So hopefully after all this practice with 1-point perspective, you'll be able to walk into any situation that you want to draw and apply these really cool rules for creating a three-dimensional space or world and make it look more realistic. All right, so here is an example in front of you of sort of where we're headed. This one is still a work in progress, so I'm still adding things and plan to change some things as well. But we are going to be working on a city much like this one right here. Let me show you a couple of more examples. So this one's a little bit more developed. This is a student artwork from years ago, and you can see that she also started to add color to it, which is pretty cool. So lots of detail, lots of windows for later on. We'll talk about that. These were a couple I pulled from off the internet. So kind of, again, it's all blurry, but hopefully it'll come into focus. There it is. So this is kind of the idea of the one street here with a city block. And this one's a little bit more simplified. And then one final one. This one's probably my favorite that I found on the internet. I really like this. And I like how they made some of the buildings so close to you that they kind of go right off the edges of the paper. So I might try that on my on mine when I finish it up. I also like how they did the cars here. So anyway, we will talk more about these later on. Right now, it's time to get started on our own. So for today's project, you will need a piece of paper, a pencil with a good eraser, and a ruler. That is super important for our 1-point perspective artwork. So if you don't have those things, please pause the video and go collect them so that you can do your drawing right along with me. Today, we are only going to do, we're going to do just part of this because this drawing's pretty involved. So we'll break this up into several weeks videos, starting today with our horizon line, our vanishing point, and we'll probably add 2 buildings for today. All right, so once you have your materials in front of you, we're gonna get started. So today, I just wanna remind you of basically the 2 rules of a 1-point perspective drawing, okay? And I will bring back my example to just illustrate this. So the 2 rules of a 1-point perspective drawing is that if you're making a vertical line up and down, it needs to be flush to the top or the bottom of the paper. Now, flush meaning this straight edge needs to line up with the straight edge of your paper. That way it keeps your line perfectly vertical. Or if you have a horizontal line, the same thing is true. It must be flush with the side of the paper, or if you've already created a straight line, it could also be flush with that straight line that you've drawn. So you can start to use those for holding your ruler flush as well. Now, the only other direction of line that we have is a diagonal. So any line that's on a slant is going to be drawn to your vanishing point. So those are basically the major rules for 1 perspective drawing. Now let's figure out how they apply to the cityscape. So Number one, we are going to create a horizon line. So what I'd like you to do is, oh, by the way, hold your paper horizontally. That will probably be the best way to create this particular artwork and leave space for all that we need to do. So taking your ruler, I'm going to come down about, I don't know, about a third of the way on my paper. If you come down a little bit lower, it's not a big deal. I'm just going to make my horizon line. So I'm going to make sure that that ruler is flush. And usually what I do is I check it once, I check it twice, and then if I really feel good about the line, I hold down the ruler and then just draw my line. Okay, so there I've got a nice horizontal straight line. Now on this straight line, which is my horizon line separating the sky from the land, I'm now going to pick a spot for my vanishing point. Now I'm going to pick it kind of toward the center of my paper, but if you want to do it off to one side, you can do that as well. It's just going to take some of your buildings off the edge, which eventually will have that happen anyway. So it's really up to you. It doesn't necessarily have to be in the center. Now that I've added the horizon line and the vanishing point, okay, which is super important in this drawing, I'm going to add the road. So you might remember this from our landscape drawing that we did. You just place your ruler on the vanishing point, and I'm going to make a nice, my ruler moved a little bit there. I'm going to make a nice long triangle here. So when the road comes toward us, it gets bigger, okay, or a little bit wider. All right, so there is my road. And right now it doesn't really look like one, but eventually once we get all the buildings in here, it'll be more believable. So now that we have the road, I'm going to start with building number one, and I'm going to choose to do it on the left side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to place my ruler flush to the side of my paper, and I'm just going to make a horizontal line. And I'm going to bring my horizontal line out, I don't know, about that wide. If you want to make it wide, yours wider, go for it. It's totally up to you. And as you're drawing, try to go lightly with your pencils so that if you need to, you can erase. In the end, there will be some things that you can add or take away. So you're going to want to have that possibility to actually erase. All right, so now I have the bottom edge of my building. Now I'm going to make the two vertical lines. So I've got to hold it flush to the top of my paper and the end of that line. And I think I've got it. Oop, I'm going to scoot it back over a little bit. And then I'm going to hold it still. Really drives me nuts when the ruler starts to move around. All right, so show that ruler who's boss and hold it still. All right, there it is. I'm going to hold it to the edge and also flush, and then I'm just going to make another vertical line, trying to make it about the same size. All right, so now I'm going to take my ruler and hold it flush to the side of the paper, and I'm going to close off my rectangle. So this is the side of the building that's facing us in this particular picture, and I'm just going to make it come across. Now you can see that I kind of overshot that line, so I'm just going to come back and erase. And so I've got this nice rectangle. Now here comes the illusion, the place where things really start to look three-dimensional. I am going to place my ruler on the vanishing point and on the left-hand corner of my building. And I don't want to make my line go all the way to the vanishing point. I just want to make it as long as I think the building would be. So I'm going to make it go about that far. And then I'm going to do the other side. So I'm just going to place my ruler on the other corner and the vanishing point, make a line. Now I have to come back and make horizontal to close off the top or the roof of my building. So I'm just going to go ahead and make that line. Guys, starting to see the illusion of the 3D here. And now finally, to close it off, I need to show the part of the building that's actually facing the road. So I'm going to place my ruler vertical, and I'm going to place it on that top corner, and it's going to go all the way to the road. So I'm trying to get it right at the corner. There we go. It's flush, and I'm going to go all the way down to the road. And there it is. There is my first three-dimensional building. Like right now, it looks like a box, right? Eventually, we'll add details to this that are going to make it look more like a three-dimensional building. All right, we're going to do one more building today to practice those techniques, but now we are going to actually take the building over the horizon line and see how that changes things, okay? So this next building, I'm going to make further away. So I'm going to come over to the right side of my road this time. So now let me scoop my paper so you can see that I'm actually holding it flush. So I'm going to make my building right about here, and I'm holding it flush to the side of my paper. And I'll make this building about this wide. And again, you might want to erase these lines later on because there probably will be buildings overlapping, so go lightly. So now I have my line coming across. Now I need to make my verticals. Now this time, I am going to take it above the horizon line. And so it's going to make this building look really tall, which is going to be cool. And so I'm just going to go ahead and make my vertical line there. Now I'm going to scoot over, holding it flush to the end of that horizontal that I made, and I'm going to take this one and go up to about the same point. Okay, now what's important is to actually erase the horizon line that was in there inside the building, because you wouldn't be able to see through the building. And now I need to close off my rectangle. So I'm going to hold it flush. I'll flip my ruler around. Hold it flush, close off the rectangle. All right. Now, here is something interesting, and I can see I didn't quite make my line long enough on that one, so I'm just going to come back and touch that up. Okay, so here's the interesting thing that happens with a building that goes above the horizon line. You can no longer see the top of the roof. So now we just need to make this side of the building, okay, because the top of the building is too high for us to see. So I'm just going to erase more of this horizon line here because I know this is where my building is going to go. And what I'm going to do is now go from the corner down to my vanishing point. And again, I don't want to draw my building all the way to the vanishing point because that would mean that my building was really, really long, and I don't want it to be that long. So I'm just going to place it on the corner and on the vanishing point. Check it once, check it twice, and once you're satisfied, make that line. So I'm going to make it go down about that far. And then I just need to close off my building. So I'm going to make it vertical, flush with the top, and then draw down to the road. So there's my next building. So this one, again, it's above the vanishing point, and above the horizon line. So I cannot see the top of the building versus this one where I can. All right, so we're going to stop there for today. I've added 2 buildings. Next week, we're going to add some more. We're going to do some overlapping. I'm even going to show you how to create a, side street. So maybe this will turn this way and make another road that goes out. And then beyond that, we'll also be talking about different roof styles that you can add, as well as windows and things like that. So hold on to this drawing. We've got much more to add to it. And if you have any questions, please feel free to email me. Looking forward to working with you on this awesome cityscape. Take care, everyone.